It was just after 6:00 a.m. on a quiet Monday when my world shifted. I was still in bed at my family's lakeside cabin in Redfern Hollow, sipping that last moment of peace before the week started, when I heard the unmistakable sound of heavy machinery echoing through the trees. My gut clenched. That sound had no place in our little, peaceful stretch of land. I jumped out of bed and ran to the window, heart pounding, and what I saw froze me cold. Down by the shoreline, men in neon vests and hard hats were swinging sledgehammers into the wooden bridge that led to my cabin. The bridge my grandfather had built by hand in 1921. The bridge I learned to fish from as a kid. The bridge where we scattered his ashes 5 years ago. I stormed outside in my pajamas, barefoot in the morning dew, shouting for them to stop. And there she was, Linda Prescott, the newly elected HOA president, standing off to the side with her phone raised, filming it all like it was the finale of some reality show. "Morning, Carter," she called with a too bright smile. "Don't mind the mess, we're just making Redfern Hollow safer for everyone." I demanded to see permits, orders, anything. She claimed there'd been an emergency vote the night before, something about structural instability and community safety, a supposed imminent hazard. I'd never received notice of any meeting. No calls, no emails, nothing. And I'd lived here for 7 years, never missed a vote, always paid my dues. This wasn't safety. It was targeted, calculated destruction. The bridge was gone within the hour. I called the county. The sheriff came. He was sympathetic, but said it was an HOA matter, a civil issue. Without proof of wrongdoing, there was nothing they could do. I stood by as the last beam, cracked and splintered, was tossed into the back of a pickup like trash. I couldn't believe it. It felt like they were smashing my memories with every swing. Linda wrapped up her live stream with a cheery send-off, saying, "Redfern Hollow is safer today, thanks to proactive leadership," and just like that, she climbed into her spotless SUV and drove off. No cleanup, no responsibility, just damage and a smug smile. Back inside the cabin, I stared at the photo of my grandfather and me, both barefoot on that bridge, holding up the first fish I'd ever caught. That bridge wasn't just wood and nails. It was a part of him, a part of us. That's when I remembered the old survey maps I found in the garage years ago, rolled up in a cracked leather tube my grandfather had kept. I unrolled them on the table, hands trembling. There it was, an outline of our land, with detailed notes about water flow, floodgates, and a control station deep in the woods behind the property. The next day, I followed those notes through thick brush and tangled vines until I found it, a concrete structure, long forgotten and half sunken into the hillside. It was locked, but the old key still hung on a nail in our garage. Inside, it smelled of rust and damp earth. In the center stood a massive iron wheel, chest high, connected to an ancient system of pipes. My grandfather, I now realize, hadn't just been a surveyor. He'd helped design the lake's original water management system during the 1940s. I turned the valve a quarter rotation. Within minutes, the creek feeding Redfern Lake slowed to a trickle. It wasn't just a control system, it was the source of life for the entire lake. The next morning, a 6-inch drop in water level had exposed the muddy bases of several luxury docks, especially those owned by properties just downstream from mine, including the lakeside mansions built by Richard Kane, the real estate developer who'd been sniffing around my property for months. I didn't connect the dots until later. It wasn't Linda's idea to destroy my bridge. It was Kane's. Linda was just the pawn. When I refused to sell my land for his resort expansion last year, he must have gotten creative, using the HOA as a weapon. He'd targeted me, just like he'd done with others. That explained everything: the sudden fines, the overnight emergency meetings, the smug dismissal when I objected. That night, Kane showed up on my doorstep, slick suit, polished smile, said he was sorry about the bridge and that he wanted to make things right. Offered me $200,000 in cash for the cabin. I told him it wasn't for sale. Not now. Not ever. His smile thinned. Sometimes progress means letting go of the past, he said. I shut the door in his face. The pressure ramped up fast. Violation notices started appearing, daily trash bins too visible, weeds near the fence line, non-compliant architectural features, whatever that meant. Linda plastered my face all over the HOA Facebook page, calling me the problem resident. The kicker, I got fined $500 for failing to remove the bridge debris she created. It was like they were trying to break me, financially and mentally. But I wasn't going to bend. My grandfather taught me better than that. The next Saturday, I turned that valve again, this time. Further. 70% of the water feeding Redfern Lake was diverted elsewhere. The next morning, Kane's investor brunch turned into a disaster. His yacht groaned into the mud. Fancy boats sat like dying whales. Guests left early, murmuring about water rights and unstable conditions. Linda tried to spin it live on camera as an unprecedented environmental anomaly. The comments roasted her. Karma, poetic justice, poetic karma, whatever you called it. People saw it for what it was. That afternoon, Kane returned, angry and without the fake charm. He threatened lawsuits. I didn't flinch. Then came the private investigator, the local code inspectors, the social media smear campaign. Even danger unstable property signs were posted near my driveway. I felt the walls closing in. One night, I found red spray paint across my garage door. Community cancer. My security camera caught Linda's car driving away 2 minutes later. I took the footage to the sheriff. He said it was inconclusive. Of course, I was exhausted. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't think. For a moment, I considered selling, walking away. But then I found a photo of my grandfather holding a hammer, building that bridge in his 20s, sleeves rolled up, sunburned and smiling. I remembered why he built this place: for family, for resilience, for something that would last. So I went back to the valve one final time. This time, I opened it wide. 95% of Redfern Lake's water disappeared in less than a day. News helicopters flew overhead. The lake turned into a cracked, muddy wasteland. Local businesses shuttered. Property values tanked. Kane's empire crumbled. Environmental officials launched an investigation. That's when the truth spilled out. Kane had been illegally redirecting water for years: false permits, bribed officials, hidden pipes. Linda cracked under pressure, confessed everything. HOA meetings had been faked. Fines were fabricated. Harassment was organized. Federal agents arrested Kane during the community's lake restoration ceremony. Cameras rolled as I turned the valve and clean water began flowing back. People cried, cheered, hugged. They saw the truth now. The HOA was dissolved. New leadership took its place. My bridge was rebuilt by neighbors, by volunteers using some of the original wood we salvaged. Standing on that new bridge at sunset, I realized this was never just about water or wood. It was about justice, about standing your ground when you're being pushed. My grandfather would have been proud. And when I got a message from a small town in Arizona, another HOA, another victim, I replied with just 5 words. Tell me about your lake.